Welcome to Business as Unusual, the weekly webinar where we discuss how marketers, salespeople, and scale-up business owners can stay productive, profitable, and at peace in the pandemic and whatever comes after. In this episode, we're joined by Jaye Cowle, a Google guru and the founder of Launch Online, the Google Premier Partner Agency. Hi, Jaye.
Hi.
Hiya. What's a Google Premier Partner? What does that mean?
You have to sit exams. You're basically accredited by Google to manage people's PPC budgets and PPC campaigns. One of the nice things with Launch, though, is we're not just a Premier partner, but we're in the top 3% of agencies in the UK because we've got a team in Dublin that look after us, and we're classified as a pathfinder agency. I think it's because we're specialists, so we 99.9% of what we do is all PPC. And we're able to get on betas and experiment with new products that Google are using, and we get really well supported. Our clients are able to come to events that they have in London back in the day when there were events. And it's nice because we can challenge some of the things that they're doing as well, where we feel it's quite a partnership.
Yeah, so let's get a flavour of you. How did you get into PPC? What was your journey into PPC?
So first of all, I was a marketeer. So I was head of sales and marketing for a travel company in London, and then I had kids and had quite an extreme reaction to having kids. I wanted to really do that very well, so I decided that we were going to leave London, and we almost bought a cheese shop in Truro.
Oh, awesome. That's just such a great West Country thing to do.
I thought, like, what can you do if you market, if you're into marketing for a travel company, what else could you sell? Cheese.
Definitely cheese.
Like buy one, get one brie. And then my husband said, I cannot bear it. And we had to drop that. And moving to Cornwall with the kids, I had all this marketing experience. And one thing that I was noticing was that people were spending a lot of money with Google and not really understanding how effective it was. I had a limited amount of time because I now had kids. So I wanted my working day to be flexible and shorter. And I thought, what is the most effective thing I can do to help these companies make more money and market their business? I thought, well, if I can really improve their PPC, then and the performance they're getting from it, then they'll straight away make more money. And I can do that in a shorter period of time than just being a marketing director or a marketing consultant. And it was my journey 9 years ago.
So you were like on the tools, right? You're doing the stuff. You're going through, sitting those ridiculous Google exams in AdWords where they go, which of these is more grey? Black and white and black, or a mixture of black and white? And you're like that.
So when I first started, it would take me like the full 2 hours to do it. And you have to learn PPC twice. You learn it once to pass the exam and once to actually do it.
Yeah.
But now I've got to the stage where I do it with a glass of wine and see how quickly I can do the exam. Can I finish the exam before I finish the glass of wine or not, and still get 90% or 100%? Because you can't, some people do get 100%, but I like speed, efficiency.
Yeah, getting it done and out the door rather than perfection. You can get perfection through iteration. And also, you can't drink wine and settle for 100%. You've got to settle somewhere, haven't you?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's cool. Well, thank you for joining us today. And I'm really excited about hearing some of the stuff that we're going to talk about, because we've had a couple of conversations in the past about other stuff anyway, and about this. So yeah, really excited for you to help us out. And we're going to be, for those of you who haven't been along on a Business as Unusual before, the three things we typically talk about are how you can get ideas and inspiration on coping with less money, an abundance of uncertainty, and the opportunities that might present themselves along the way and in the future. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. In fact, I'm not, because your name is Launch Online, I think we can probably, I've lost you though. There we go. Your name is Launch Online. We can find you online. We don't need your logo to do that. So this session is brought to you by Launch Online and Noisy Little Monkey. Jaye, Launch Online, we've already discussed, as a PPC agency in the top 3% of agencies in Europe. Niche AF. And when we were talking about this, I asked you for one piece of advice that you said you'd like to leave everybody with. And you said, don't quarantine your marketing during COVID, which I love. How are you helping your clients follow that advice?
So I do have to say, I did steal that sentence from Bruce Clay, the godfather of SEO. So
never heard of him. No, I have.
I think when everything first happened and everyone went into panic mode, they went through their list of costs. And one of the things that marketing is normally is a cost to the business, and the accountants and the CEOs of companies who have come from a finance background just put a big cross through most of that. But ultimately, we know this is a moment in time. Our customers still exist. We might have new customers. Our customers' profile might have changed slightly. But if we don't keep communicating with them and looking for new business, then it makes the recovery much, much harder. I always kind of picture it as a big machine. And if those cogs don't keep turning, even if they're more slowly turning, then it's very hard to start back up again. It's like, it's like a boiler that, you know, the boiler man loves it in the autumn because he gets called out all the time, because when you switch it back on, it just doesn't work as well. Yeah.
So, and I imagine, so a bit like, so we're in, I suspect, in a similar boat, although I think ours was quite drastic at Noisy Little Monkey. And I've said it before, and I don't mind sort of sharing this kind of stuff with people who come along on these calls, because we're all just trying to get by. And the more we can be transparent about this stuff, I believe it works. And SEO, PPC, digital marketing generally is quite a transparent industry, and I love that. So our Noisy Little Monkey's pipeline went from £250,000 in the next 3 to 4 months. We were going to close. And on about the 29th of March, 30th of March, Katie, business development manager, or client development manager, excuse me, to give her a proper title. And I went through, and that dropped to £2,500 instead of £250,000. And we thought, we got to practice what we preach. We've got to keep doing, keep going. And actually, like, so us and Sanjay, who was the second guest on Business is Unusual, we just kept, you know, it wasn't quite flogging a dead horse, but it was, okay, no one's going to spend any money for a bit, but let's just keep pushing it. And we've got a whole new bunch of clients that we've never spoken to before, that are straight. So we even had someone phone up the other day and go, wow, I can't believe you're the first agency I've called that's picked up the phone. Which I was like, that, brilliant. We're £1 million an hour. Whatever you want to buy, it's really expensive because we've bothered to show up. And sometimes winning is all about showing up, but that's for a lack of ambition. Cool. So how are you? So if you've got people like us, or you're not necessarily working with marketing agencies, but you're working for lots of different companies, how are you helping them not quarantine their spend? Have you seen a great deal of it drop off?
So our clients are in very varying sectors. A lot of them were in the travel industry.
Ouch.
Yeah, depending on what type of travel company you are, depends on how painful it is. But ultimately, people have still been searching for holidays. This is a moment in time, and there will be travel companies that can't weather the storm. But the ones that have got the right cash flow, who have got the business model that is perhaps out of luck more than judgment, going to be more successful. If you can just weather this storm, your customers are still there searching online. One of our biggest and now most favorite, but they were always a favorite customers who's carried on advertising through this whole period. I mean, the gains that we're now seeing from all of that brand awareness that we were building, basically it's a really long research phase. People, rather than making a decision in a couple of weeks what holiday they're going on, they're spending this whole time deciding where in the world they're going to go in the future, where in the world, in the UK, are they going to go? Because at the moment, the average Joe on the street isn't feeling this in their pocket. And so if you're a caravan park or a campsite or self-catering accommodation, those people are heavily researching. We've also been blessed with amazing weather, and everyone is like, wow, we don't need to go abroad again. The UK is amazing. So that has also helped some of our travel clients. And the ones that have seen the best results from this period have communicated with their customers. So they've communicated with their loyal customers. They've been trying to acquire new customers, but very carefully and sensitively, and just being transparent. You talked about being transparent, and having messages on the website. I mean, I hate a pop-up, but this is a time for a pop-up, because you do need to be able to make sure that you get in front of people and give them, are you open? How are you handling things? And a flexible approach is good.
I love this is a time for a pop-up. No one's ever said that. But you're right. It's a good time for a pop-up. And we'll see that on number 10 on a list that we look at later. Brilliant. Thank you for that kind of background. This is also brought to you by Noisy Little Monkey. You know me, probably. Noisy Little Monkey is an inbound and marketing automation and sales enablement company. We're a HubSpot Diamond partner. The exams are a bit more easy than some of the Google ones and a bit more hard in other areas. And yeah, we help businesses grow and save money, actually, even when times are tough. So that's who we are. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. You don't need to hear too much about me. We've heard all about you guys who are on the call. I'm now sharing my screen, I hope. Let's go and look at, stop looking at Noisy Little Monkey. So this is from some research. I did some research on 210 websites, looking in analytics, looking at the 8 weeks from lockdown, from the period of the 23rd of March to, I can't remember, anyway, 8 weeks from the 23rd of March when we got locked down, versus the 8 weeks prior to that, to see what was the change in sessions. And the hypothesis we assumed was some traffic would have gone massively up and some has gone really down. And actually, our hypothesis was proven. So has your traffic changed since lockdown? These were UK SMEs on the whole. Biggest turnover, probably about 50 million. Lowest turnover, probably 500,000. So that kind of position. Most websites in the UK economy that we examined had seen fewer sessions, over 3/4, and a few had seen more sessions. Actually, about 1% had no change, which I have no idea. I'm not putting them on here. They're just, you can't have it. I've manipulated the graph so they don't show, because that's wrong. Must be. And then we asked, if you're a lockdown loser, so if you're one of the websites, one of the majority of websites that's lost traffic, how big is your loss in traffic? And the average, and I'm a shepherd and then I'm a salesman. That's my jobs before I did this. So average for me is what's the number in the mid, what's the mean? So really simple average. The average is 40%. And if you follow me on Twitter, I'm going to tweet a link to this later so that you can get the full report. But we can see that automotive and hospitality, and in there I've got travel. I know it's probably not the right sector, but I was putting them in sectors. So that was events, travel, leisure, that kind of stuff, are the hardest hit in terms of traffic. And actually, oddly enough, hospitality and events in terms of winners stays pretty low. And you're right. I think it's because people are doing more considered research and staying more on the website, and we're only measuring sessions rather than page views and stuff like that. I think people are interacting more. But yeah, if you want to compare your website, if you're on this webinar and you want to compare your website to these numbers across these industries, follow me on Twitter. There'll be a link to it later, or you can just look on the Noisy Little Monkey website if you don't want to follow me on Twitter, because there will be profanity. And I bring that up. I did it last week. I've got more numbers this week, so it's a bit more, the data's a bit more robust. And I bring it up because, Jay, I was thinking, and certainly Noisy Little Monkey have very rarely done PPC, and we've been doing much more of it recently. And and that's for ourselves. We don't do PPC. We have a friendly agency that we refer people to that. They're called Launch Online. The thing I was thinking is, you can really quickly fill that pot. Okay, I've lost 40% of my organic search traffic or my social traffic. How can I get that pot full? Oh, I can just pay for clicks. I'll just pay for clicks. The danger is, particularly if you're a noob or you don't have an agency that knows what they're doing, you can do what. So my big PPC disaster story, I might have to ask you what yours was, but my big PPC disaster story was, I was in Dublin and me and my mate had started a business and we sponsored the word e-commerce. This was in the early 2000s on Google. And that was before you could set a daily budget, you could set a monthly budget. And we rinsed through £6,000 while we were on a stag weekend, but we didn't spend it on booze and having fun. We spent it on Google. And I couldn't check out of the hotel because my credit card was maxed out. So that's my PPC mistake. I've also, should I go into the story about how I once accidentally targeted the Taliban on behalf of the US Army in a recruitment drive on Facebook? No, I shouldn't, because that probably could get me into legal trouble. So I won't go into that, but I can tell you about it should we ever get drunk together. So, okay, we've got this lack of traffic coming to all of these places. You've got idiots like me getting involved in PPC and just going, yeah, I'll bid on web design, or whatever the 2-word phrase is in their industry. How do we protect ourselves? And Jay, how do we cope with the fact that probably it's going to be difficult for us to convince someone to unlock that cash? Over to you.
So there's quite a few points to raise on this. The idea with the money slide is how do you continue on a very limited resource? So those are some of the points that I'm going to raise, but of course there are companies that are now coming to it because they're pivoting. So that's slightly different. In the short term, I still feel that we're in the short term.
Right.
There's certain things that you definitely need to make sure. You need to control your brand search. So depending on what kind of, and we can have many debates, John, about whether you put on your brand or not, but where you need to communicate with your customer how you have changed the way you're doing business. So if you're travel and you're now offering flexible booking, or if you're a showroom and you're now selling online, you need to be able to communicate that really efficiently and quickly. And you might have actually created new web pages on your website to point people to. And brand search is a really quick way to drive traffic to those pages, to control the message. And you also need to keep an eye on what competitors might have come into the space. There's a bit of guerrilla marketing going on, and you'll be able to then use the Auction Insight report to see if there are competitors going after your brand search. It's normally super cost effective unless your name is something generic, in which case it might not be. But you're still, if your website has it all over it, you're still going to pay less than a competitor.
So because, and let's take a second here, and it's not because, so it's not because I want to be combative about it, but my natural reaction, as you know, Jay, is to go, don't bid on your brand. Why would you bid on your brand if no one else is bidding on it? I've subsequently been educated in that. And one of the things you say there, which I can't refute from my kind of old school SEO hat standpoint, is that thing of you put up a new page about how, you know, one of your pivot pages, and it's not necessarily how you're dealing with COVID, but it's a way that you can get your message out. You're right, it could take months for it to show up, particularly in those sublinks when you're doing those branded searches on organic, sublinks being the ones underneath the main search, if you're not sure about what we're talking about. So Jay, for those who are total noobs, I can bid on my own brand, but rather, and I can have sub pages underneath that kind of standard ad. Is that correct? Is that what you meant by directing people to those relevant new messages?
Yeah, so the DNA of a brand text ad, so a search ad where you are bidding on your brand keywords, the amount, I mean, compared to when I started 9-10 years ago, the amount of information you can put into that brand ad is huge. So you've got the standard headlines and description where you can get across your key messages, but then you've got site links that you can send people to sub pages within the site. They're not as clicked on, but they can enhance your main message. But you've got price extensions. So, you know, if you're offering a sale, you can have that information in there. You've got your key USPs and your call outs. You can have awards that you run, reviews, your location. So, you know, click to call as well. So it has changed a lot over the years. Why bidding on your brand has been controversial is that there are agencies, both SEO and PPC, who weren't reputable, and they were using brand to just show results. Ultimately, always work with an agency partner that you trust and who, you know, if a client succeeds, the agency succeeds. And so you need to really understand what the strategy is behind it. But ultimately, it's controlling the message. You need to communicate more than ever with your customers, and that enables you to do so.
Cool. Excellent. And it's quite good to be able to put that point to bed with like an SEO in the room who's just so anti it most of the time, as you know. So that was really good. And I stopped you and we went down that rabbit hole. Keep going. Take us further.
So if you're already spending with Google Ads, negative keywords, I mean, we're probably about 8 weeks too late to have that conversation, because negative keywords are the absolute crucial part of any PPC campaign. So if you're bidding on a keyword, what you want to do is make sure you add in all of the negatives to do with coronavirus and COVID-19, all the variations. It was amazing to see the Google Trends graph of the word unprecedented, and I'm pretty sure that was people trying to work out how to spell it so that they could put it in post.
Yeah.
But and if anyone's playing webinar bingo, they've just got a full house there. But negatives are really important, and that was the first place. I mean, I had to reach out to a PPC freelancer. When times are really hard, that's when you see the partners that you work with. You see the whites of their eyes, and why you use perhaps a more expensive trusted partner than a cheap freelancer. We saw that there was a big backlash of tourists in Cornwall, and there were people bidding on last-minute Cornwall holiday just before lockdown happened. And then lockdown happened, that became obviously illegal, or, you know, to travel to Cornwall became illegal. And
certainly reputationally damaging if you were the person offering it, right?
Awful. So obviously all of our accounts, you know, all last minute terms removed, on the phone to the clients, making sure that they've got all of their COVID policies on their website. They're all dealing with, you know, having to cancel customers. We did a last minute Cornwall search, and there was an ad that came up, and it was a little self-catering place down in Cornwall, and they employed a PPC freelancer who luckily actually we knew. So I quickly called him and I said, you've got to stop those ads. And he's like, I don't know what to do. I've got all these clients. There's only one of me. I've only got so much time on my hands. And it's in bad times that you realize why you sometimes choose more expensive partners that have got more resource, because that was, I mean, they could have really got in trouble.
Yeah.
So we helped out. But so negative keywords. Then in order to make your money go further, one of the things that I'm talking to clients about is to make sure that you are there for those people with high intent. So you talk about the sales funnel, and I think I've got a slide on that, John. I don't know if you want to share it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I was. Is it this one?
Keep going. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Oh, sorry, I went too far. Bit premature.
So, I mean, there's a lot of talk about whether the sales funnel is dead, but I think it's a really good visualization to understand how you acquire new customers. So when all of this happened, and still now, there are people who have high intent, and you can tell that they have high intent to buy your product or service based on what they're searching for in Google, and if your product is relevant, to that search. And to make sure that you have at least 100% impression share, or if you don't have 100% impression share, there's a good reason why, like maybe you're following an automated smart bidding strategy, but that you are there and you're winning that auction and your adverts are spot on. So you nail that high intent search traffic and you drive them to the right page on the website and you get every conversion you can. It's hustling. You've got to go back to when you first started the business. And you are hungry for every sale. I spoke to one of our mutual clients, and they said it's been really interesting for their sales team this period, because now when they have a sales call come through, they're excited, they want to win that sale, they're hungry for it, and they celebrate the wins more. And I think that's a really good thing to, we were all on a bit of a treadmill, and to take a step back and then be hungry for that business, to want to succeed, and then to celebrate winning it. And it's been very good for their team structure, because, they virtually high five each other now when they then win a sale. So concentrating on that bottom of the funnel and making sure that is working brilliantly. We've also been talking to our customers about relying on their existing customers. So where we come into that, if you ignore all of the emails how many CEO emails did you get? I think the CEO of every brand I've ever bought from emailed me before.
I gotcha. I'm like that. I've never bought an email list. I see what you're saying. I have obviously bought an email list, but not recently.
But using your, the email database that was probably decimated correctly or incorrectly during GDPR, making sure that you speak to that email database. But what people don't realize is you can use those databases within Google Ads, Facebook Ads. They're called customer match. You're able to upload that data if you have the correct consent. And you can then bid more aggressively to win people who appear on that list. So you might have like a lapsed sales list or a repeat buyers list, and you can make sure every time they search for your brand or your product or something that you're trying to get their business for, that you aggressively bid on those people. You up the bid. You make sure that those audiences appear both in your Facebook and your Google Ads campaigns. The other thing that I think it's almost stopped now, but in the first couple of weeks, the appalling remarketing strategies where companies hadn't realized they were still like remarketing things that people couldn't buy, or
just so awful.
On the flip side, I've seen some amazing remarketing. Of course, I'm sure we're responsible for some of it, but
of course.
where the messaging is so relevant and of the moment. And that's been nice to see small companies succeed where bigger brands took longer to be able to get there. Smaller companies, SMEs who are able to pivot quickly or able to change their messaging quickly and not have to go like to 45 million board meetings to get it done. I think small businesses in the short term won. I think
that relevancy, that hyper relevancy, that's kind of, I don't know. I feel that's, the relevant. What's relevant this week is not relevant last week, and we're 3 months in. Is my belief. I don't know whether you're of that same viewpoint. But regardless of exactly what that timescale is, and I believe it's really, really tight. That relevancy thing is so interesting, isn't it? Because we used to just rely. You know what? Yeah, let's be honest about it. So, well, certainly Noisy Little Monkey can rely on lots of data. We'll just rely on the data. We'll follow the process, and that sometimes that stifles creativity, because you end up playing it safe because you know kind of what's going to work. You know what works in this sector. You know what works in that sector, And you get creative occasionally, and that's good fun. But actually, I think it gives us an opportunity, that hyper relevancy, to be really creative and go, there is no data on this. I mean, there is just starting to be some, but there is no data on exactly how we make this more relevant, right? So I think it gives us the opportunity to be more creative.
Definitely. And on the third, on the, 1, 2, 3, if money is number one, uncertainty is number two, and opportunity is number three. On opportunity, to me, this has enabled small companies to be able to succeed where big brands weren't able to. So, filming stuff on mobile phones, rough content suddenly became actually brilliant, because it showed that you were able to be quick and creative, and it showed kind of you stood out from the crowd. I felt awful for P&O, who had bought all of those TV adverts that are, still like 10 days into Corona lockdown. There's Rob Brydon on a cruise.
Poor guy, he'll never be able to be let back into the UK. If he's out there now, he's screwed. He's there forever. We'll never see another episode of Would I Lie to You?
Whereas there are some great brands, Uber's example of, the stay-at-home message. Really, it's been really interesting to see how long the big brands took, though. So make sure that your remarketing is appropriate, and make sure that if go on.
No, thank you. I was waving my finger in the hope that I might catch you. Your remarketing is appropriate. What else are you going to say about remarketing before I ask you Gabby's question?
I can't now remember, but I was going to say that.
Thanks, Gabby. Okay, not your fault. I'm terrible at interviewing, it turns out. Let me ask you Gabby's question then. Whatever you're thinking, we'll come back to you, I suspect. So how would you upload existing contacts, newsletter subscriber, leads, data to a PPC advert, as you mentioned? Is there a name for this?
So in your Google Ads account, there is an audience section. And I think that is the biggest change over the last couple of years that I've seen in the PPC landscape. This idea that PPC is no longer about just keywords, it's about your audience. And it's about speaking to the people who are most likely to buy from you. The audience section of Google Ads has become much more powerful, and you can upload your CSV of all of your email addresses into the audience section of your Google Ads account. And then you can use that audience at campaign level to show Google, these are my customers. So then Google says, okay, well, here's a person doing a search for launch online. Oh, they also appear in the customer list. We will bid aggressively, or you might actually specify, a 50% increase in bid. To be honest with you, now manual bidding is almost out the window with automated bidding.
Yeah,
that was the other big difference in this whole period, where you could see companies that didn't have a good PPC team managing their accounts. If they let smart bidding and they didn't readdress and continually check how smart bidding was performing of those first couple of weeks, there were smart bidding works because it's using data, historical data, and although Google says it will learn quickly, this was unprecedented. There we go, full house again.
You've wasted one now.
and it really needed a close eye kept on it. And in fact, I think almost in all circumstances, we removed it for the short term. And now we've been introducing it with fantastic results. Fantastic results. But if you didn't have enough eyes on your account, on your campaigns, it was just like feeding money into a waste paper basket.
Yeah, in fact, actually, I was talking to someone. I'm going off at a bit of a tangent, but we'll come back. I was talking to someone yesterday, and he was telling me how his wife works at Google in the ads team, but selling not to the likes of you and not to the likes of you, but to the likes of us normal human beings who get that phone call from someone with a lovely Irish accent telling us that they think they can help us improve our account. I presume everybody gets those calls, right? And so
the junior teams then.
yes. And I think this lady's relatively senior, but he was saying they've got all of the, he said the problem with it is they're all on these calls all the day now because they're not doing too much outreach. They're just meeting with each other from like 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. on calls with people all over the world, talking about KPIs. And it's like that. They're all just terrified that someone's going to realize none of them do anything, because the money just keeps flooding in ever increasing amounts. And Google just go, oh, but we'll hire another 100 people because clearly that works. And it's like, he's like that. So, and they all just are reporting on meaningless KPIs day in, day out from home instead of at the office, you know, whilst riding trikes around the boardroom. So yeah, that thing about getting it wrong, you become part of that tiny, your little flood of money becomes part of that flood into Google. So it's interesting.
Part of our job, I think, is to hold Google to account, to make, we're employed by our clients to make them money, but we're using Google Ads in order to do that. And there are times where Google forgets the small business that is selling massive pants, whatever, down in Cornwall, that is their money, that's their pension pot, that's their retirement fund. And that's one thing that we're able as agencies is to hold them to account and say, no, you can't get us to practice, you know, whether your smart bidding works or not, on this account. That's somebody's money. And I mean, our team are fantastic at Google, but any time where I don't feel that they're working in the best interest of our clients, we definitely tell them that.
Yeah, I did, and actually, they're pretty happy to hear it, aren't they? It's not like they need every pound that we can spend with them as SMEs in the UK. I've got a couple more questions for you actually that have come up. I'm going to stop the share a sec so I can see your face a bit better. So we had one from Gary who asked, is there like a TripAdvisor for PPC agencies? How do you choose a good one?
Yes, there is. Recommendedagencies.com, I think it is, which is the drum recommends.
Right.
And it will list agencies. I think you have to request to be on there. You probably have to pay a membership, but you can then have clients leave you independent reviews. So the client is independently, and it has to have their domain. It can't be, you know, faked. And you're able to go on and leave a review of the agency. So the idea is that you can go on there and see, perhaps if you've narrowed it down to 3 agencies, and see what their clients say about them. I mean, obviously, clients, an agency isn't going to give it to a client who doesn't like them, but but if you can still get and you can also see what the company is. You can call that person and say, do you recommend them?
So search for the drum recommended agencies. That'll do us. We'll get to there. Google used to have a directory of people who did it, but it always seemed to me
they don't do that now.
Everybody. Okay.
Yeah, they've removed that now, but it is, you know, they give badges: Premier Partner Badge, Google Partner Badge.
Is the badge on your website clickable?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I always think is people who are really trustworthy at this, proper agencies, bother to make the badge clickable to their thing on Google, whereas all of those other agencies that go, yeah, we're a partner, blah, 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 and you click their agency badge and it doesn't go anywhere. And I know it's kind of, Google's not policing that, but it's just like, if they're not playing by the rules at all, how good are they?
Yeah. I did go onto one agency's website the other day and it said they were #1 in London. I was like, according to who? And then I looked at their campaign and they'd used exact match and broad match modified in separate SKAGs, which is single keyword ad groups, which is so old school. But anyway, let's help the people who are, let's not bitch about other agencies.
No. I was just, another question from Azim. Can I have, his question was, so are you trusting smart bidding algorithms more at the moment than you were previously?
Anytime we use automation, it's all to do with testing, understanding how well a campaign was doing before to be able to know how better it is performing. And our At the moment, I think, depends which industry you're in, but where competition has decreased and you have all these really lovely remarketing lists, a real understanding of who your customers are, there is a lot of business to be had online. So some of those slides that I gave you, is all it does is it just shows that more people are online than ever before.
Yeah.
Although you're seeing a drop in traffic, because we're mainly in new customer acquisition, so it's people with high intent who are searching for the clients. We're seeing more people coming through from PPC and buying where other people have dropped out of the auction. So travel, people are booking holidays, lots of holidays, food deliveries, big companies didn't pivot quite so quickly. So we've been able to win the auction there. But smart working, where you have...
It is working.
Yeah, where you have really marketing lists and an understanding of who the customer is.
Brilliant. I was going to say, it sounds like you trust it, like you trust a newish dog that looks friendly. It's probably going to be okay, but I'm not going to leave it entirely alone.
Always one eye on it.
Yeah, exactly. Always an eye on it. Brilliant. So now we've been talking a lot about Google there, and in the money section and all of that kind of stuff. We've got some other slides that we can share, but we should talk about how we're addressing uncertainty. And I think we've already started to do that. We're already there. But were there any other points that you wanted to make on that?
Very much so. And here's the nodding dog. Very, very much so.
Do you want me to share my screen again?
No, not yet.
Okay.
One thing that people have got to be really aware of is that this is probably the calm before the storm, because if you imagine that the all those big brands who have been taking up the auction, who Booking.com or they aren't in the auction quite a lot at the moment. They pull back their ad spend, but they're saving it up. And
right.
What will happen is if you don't start to fill your sales pipeline, if you don't start talking to your customers and making sure that you've improved your marketing plan and you've improved your website, when the floodgates open again and the recovery does come, whether or not we're in a recession, still Joe Bloggs has got more money in his pocket. This wave will come with then a wave of competition, and so you will very quickly drop out of the auction. You just won't stand a chance to compete if you haven't kind of got your ducks in a row. So
because when they turn their tap on, your tap is nothing suddenly.
Yeah. So that's one thing to be really aware of, is that marketing spend, ad spend will probably peak in the autumn.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not prepared for that, that will be a big shock if suddenly you just start to see your campaigns underperforming. So in order to take advantage of this, and I believe it was last week's webinar was CRO.
Yeah.
That is really crucial to get right now. So you might not be spending all of your money on PPC at the moment. You might have reduced that spend and you're being smarter and cleverer with it and building some remarketing lists. Now is the time to improve your website. The amount of times we get a new business inquiry from a great company with a great product and a great team and a great price and a terrible website.
Yeah.
All we can do is find your potential customer and send them to your website. And then we're like, no.
Yeah.
And we can't, we cannot change. We can't make the person buy. We can't, the horse and water and taking it to drink or something. But if you improve different aspects of your website, buttons that look like they're clickable and aren't, or page speed, then when the traffic does return, you've got a more chance of converting it. And in the short term, you're working harder to convert it.
Yeah.
The last 4 weeks, where we've not been doing so much on campaign management, perhaps some people's spend has decreased. We've been doing website usability studies where we're using something like Lucky Orange, and we're looking and seeing how those websites are performing. And it's incredible how many bugs or fixes we've been able to find. And those web developers who are on retainers anyway, or are employed by the team, or creating HubSpot landing pages for example, to work harder than the current website to fix, the conversion journey, to improve that, and also how you speak to your customer once they've completed the goal. The terrible automated emails.
Or simply the page refreshing and saying, thank you for submitting the form.
Yes.
The classic.
This is now a Google goal. I mean,
yeah.
So
you are now a Google goal. Yeah. Welcome to the pipeline. You will receive 4 automated emails, but not for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and really taking, in fact, one of our clients, it's been lovely to see, because the managing director is shielding and has to stay at home, and is now looking at the website and seeing all the things that they can do to improve it, and really taking an interest in it. And it's brilliant. Yes. Yeah. Increases our to-do list, but we know that everything that we are able to tick off, that we're making improvements for when the business does start to return, we know that it will work harder. So CRO, conversion rate optimization, that stands for, improve the tracking. You've got to understand what people are doing when they're on your website. The amount of times that we're fixing Google Analytics tracking, we're deploying Google Tag Manager, we're improving goals.
Yes, just making the goals so that they aren't someone visited the contact page. No wonder you've got you've got an 80% conversion rate. You've only got 3 pages. Yeah. One of them is the contact page. Of course, people are looking at it. It's not a goal.
Or smart goals.
Yes.
5 million people have completed a SMART goal on your website. I mean, what does that even mean? Please switch off. Please switch off SMART goals. There we go. I said it.
Switch off SMART goals. Switch off SMART goals.
Actually, one of the reasons that our automated bidding strategies are working better now is that we are being more creative with the goals that we're creating. So rather than just having, for example, for a holiday company, rather than just having the purchase, which is not happening so frequently at the moment, we're having them getting to like a key page in the journey, like the page where they've got to put in their details, maybe the page after that, so that we can have just a slightly softer goal, because people just keep going to that almost booking. Yeah. If you don't have that softer goal, then you're not giving the AI enough information to be able to learn from it.
Yeah.
So be creative with your goals, but don't use SMART goals.
Don't use SMART goals. Key. We've got like 3 minutes left. Can you believe?
Oh, no way.
Talk to us. Yeah. But hey, do you want to do another one of these where we drill into it again in a few weeks, the other side of this?
Yes, definitely.
Let's do that. But so talk to us about what's 1 or 2 things that we could do to really take advantage of the opportunity that's either presented now or in the future.
Okay, so it's definitely, there's masses of opportunity. As a small bit, if most of the people on this webinar are SMEs, it's be creative. The big brands out there, your competition, can't move as fast as you. Be creative and understand who your customer is now, who they were before, whether they might not be the same person, and who they're likely to be in the future, and keep that customer, right? Personas, maybe 4 different personas of what those people look like, and keep them at the heart of everything that you do. There was a tendency before to look at a marketing plan and go, a marketing plan must have social media, PPC, SEO. No, your marketing plan has a customer that you're speaking to. Where is that customer? How are they searching for what you do? Where do they hang out? And that's how you build your marketing plan, not because you need to have a social media exec, a PPC company. If your customer is using Google to try and find your services, you need to be there. But concentrate, what message are you there with? Is it compelling? Is it emotive? Are you speaking to this person? Now that we've got, mobile phones that we're carrying around, I still feel, and we're guilty of it, that we write for computers, we write for laptops, we write for a person sitting at a desk. And actually, we need to speak to our customers more emotively and more, have a better, compelling copy.
Nice. And I tell you what, that resonates so strongly with me, because obviously we're all about personas. And it's really weird that we have the people that we like to work with, people like you, are all have that at the heart. And I think it's because it's the heart of marketing, right? It's the heart of really good marketing is you know who you're trying to talk to, and you kind of have an understanding, and it's always developing, of what their problems are and where they hang out and all that kind of stuff. That's really good. If you're watching this on a watch back or watch again, or you are on here now, thank you very much. You can follow up with Jaye. I think I'm sharing my screen so you can see that she's a Google guru on Twitter, and Jaye Cowle on LinkedIn. You can find her on launchonline.co.uk. Ask her some questions. I've got a couple of questions in the chat that we probably didn't get to. We will, if I don't feel we answered them, we'll follow up with an email or something. But yeah, have a chat. Jaye, thank you so much for coming on, giving us so much advice. I think there's probably like 3 hours we could do. So we'll have to do another one. But until next time, thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.